Sarika, we are waiting for the next slide. Sarika? Yeah, thank you. Okay, so can you make any guesses? What is this? This is a magnified image of something. I want you to guess. You can use your chat box, you can use your mics, feel free. Engaging only if you participate. And this is a speaking session. It's a cake. Sir, I couldn't hear you. What did you say? It's a dish. Okay. What dish? Can you be specific?
Some sweet dish, I guess.
Some sweet dish, Anjali? Okay. Some male member shared something. Oh, this is sand and rock. Ashish sir with a smile. Oh, yeah, could be. Anyone else? Some male member had tried saying something. कोई बीच में बोल रहा था, शायद उनकी आवाज नहीं पहुंची हम तक. Most of you are saying this is the cake. Okay, so अपने आंसर्स जो अभी आपने दिए उसको अपने जहन में रखिएगा और इस इमेज को भी अपने दिमाग में रखिएगा, ठीक है? Now we move on to the next image. It can be a sand on leather. Looks like sand and mountain. Okay, thank you so much. Moving on. Next image, Sarika. Sorry, Avani ma'am, I couldn't hear you.
Yeah, it could be the surface of the landing on any other planet like Mars or something.
Okay, great. Very interesting answer. It could be the surface of some other planet. Great. Okay, now what is this image? This is a magnified image again, just to remind you. This is a thread band. It can be, it is a belt. Okay. Okay. और कुछ मेरे को responses चाहिए इस पे.
Locks of hair.
Sorry, come again, Avni.
Locks of hair.
Locks of hair. Okay, it's a rope, it's a wristband. Some people say it's a cot. Okay. Great. So be with your answers and be with the image. Okay, retain this image in your mind for a few seconds. It's a thread belt. Great. Okay, I'm quite excited now. Okay, Sarika, next image. It's an artificial hair. Good creative thoughts. What is this? I'm sure this would be a little easier. Ashish sir, yeah, now we are responding to this image. It's a toothbrush. It's a toothbrush bristle. Good going. Yes. Yes. More responses? Bristles of a toothbrush. Yes. I can see only 4-5 log participating. Where are all others? Please participate. It's a straw broom. Very nice. It's a toy cot. Sucking pipes. Oh, interesting. Toothbrush. Okay. Now again, stay on with straw. You can't see the image, Deepika. I think the image is very clearly visible on the screen there. It looks like a broom, somebody said. Great. Hold on to your responses. Wonderful. Moving on. Sarika, next slide. Are you waiting for the answers? No, this wait. Yes, this was the image. This is the last image. What is this?
Glass. It's a glass.
It's a glass. It's a drainage pipe. Okay, interesting. It's a pipe. Glass से मतलब you meant a steel glass? A glass pick from the top. Okay. Yes, thank you Avni ma'am for being so prompt. आपकी आवाज यहाँ नहीं आई तो आपने chat box में जवाब दिया. Great. It's a bowl. It's a pipe hole. It's a hole. Hole of what? A hole in the wall. Okay. It's a glass steel. Okay. Very interesting. Okay. Next slide, Sarika. It's a headlight of a car. Drainage pipe fitted in a pipe with a glass.
It's
Very nice answer. Sorry, Adarsh sir, दोबारा बोले.
मैम ये आईफोन का कैमरा जैसे लग रहा है.
आईफोन का कैमरा लग रहा है. आपकी क्रिएटिविटी ही चाहिए थी मुझे जी। बहुत शुक्रिया इसमें पार्टिसिपेट करने के लिए। सारिका नेक्स्ट स्लाइड। बस अभी रुक जाना सारिका। तो अभी जो आपने 4 इमेजेस देखी, आपको वो चारों इमेजेस याद हैं बहुत अच्छे से सबको? And I hope you also remember the answers you had given. Yeah, and you also heard other people's answers, which were pronounced by me, although they were in the chat box, but I pronounced all the answers. Good. Okay, so now let's see what these were to your surprise. Next slide, Sarika. Yes. So the first image was. What was the first image out of these 4?
Almonds.
They were almonds. Yes, that was the surface of a salted almond. I'm glad people are liking it. Yes.
Salt was looking like sand.
Yes, salt was looking like sand. Yes, आशीष जी, बिल्कुल. And वो जो दूसरा वाला image था, वो क्या था? That red. That was a shoelace. Yes, yes. Aditi ji, Ashish ji, bilkul theek. That was a shoelace, a magnified view of that. The third one, you all were very close. You guessed it right. That was a toothbrush, and it was a toothbrush bristle. And the fourth one, iPhone का कैमरा वाले कहाँ गए?
Ma'am, his answer was very near to the right one.
Very near, yes, yes. I am so glad आप लोगों की participation as teachers इतनी अच्छी रही कि आप काफी close थे. It's a sharpener, yes. So before we move on, I want to take a little feedback on this activity. Is this activity worth taking in the classes? Thank you, Aditi ma'am, for saying it, calling it very interesting. Can we take this activity to our classrooms?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Obviously, good. So this is one of the speaking prompts activity जिसमें हमारे बच्चे बहुत interest ले सकते हैं. And there is, thank you Avni ma'am for saying that you enjoyed a lot. And you will have to just Google a few such images. You just type in magnified images of whatever object, and there you have all these ideas. So you can take in from there, and you can just portray one at a time and let students guess. So a very good activity for prompting those children to speak who have not been very active speakers in our classrooms. And we can also further probe deep into the questions. Due to the paucity of time, I am not able to discuss more on each image, but you can do that in your classrooms as well. Okay, moving on to the next slide. Yeah. So the tips for effective public speaking, although this is an infographic I found on net, but here this applies very well to our classroom scenarios also. We are not focusing on making children very good public speakers. That's a second step probably. We are trying to make our children good speakers. पिछले वाले सेशन में जब मैंने आपके साथ सेशन लिया था, we had talked about listening practical. So how students can be extremely good listeners, and it's important for them to polish that listening skill. तो ये उसी की continuation में है. A good listener is obviously a good speaker. So this is just to brush up the skills, the tips for making our children good speakers, not good public speakers so to say, but just good speakers, so that they engage well in the classroom and in the school setup. So thing is that it's important that the speaker, whosoever the speaker is, whether it's you, whether it's the student, whether it's anybody, the speaker must know the material well, should do a lot of homework as to what one is about to speak. One should gather all the thoughts before speaking, and then only go to deliver. Then second is practice your speech. Sometimes because our students are very new to speaking as a skill, they have neither been very good listeners of the language yet, because they have hardly had any language input, and speaking के लिए तो और भी ज़्यादा हमारे बच्चों का dearth है speaking opportunities का. So it's important that you give them a lot of space to be able to practice their speech once in the classroom before they share their final expressions. We must encourage our students to be confident. Whatever they speak, it's important that they say it with confidence. So exuding confidence is a very important part of the non-verbal part of speaking. Then one should always speak in such a way that one is able to engage the audience, because when we are speaking, we are usually speaking for somebody to listen to us. So it's important that the speaker speaks in a way that the audience doesn't lose interest or doesn't get bored. The audience is interested and is able to understand what the speaker is trying to say. And the speaker also needs to be very loud and clear. Loud, I mean not pitch wise very loud, but very, very easily audible. People, the listeners, the audience should not struggle to hear the speaker. And the speaker should also be very clear in his thoughts, in pronunciation, in the language which the person is using. So this was something very the first thing that caught my eye on net yesterday. So I wanted to share this with you. Next slide, Sarika. Sarika, next slide. Yeah. So these are a few speaking skills to consider. The first image on the top left, which you can see, it talks a lot about what I have already touched upon a little in the previous slide. The speaking skills, but if we start from confidence and we move clockwise, so confidence is important. Body language is another very important part to be taken care of. Facial expressions should also match the content delivered. The tone and the volume, they need to be set, and they need to be altered during your speech. हम एक ही वॉल्यूम एक ही टोन पे पूरी बात अपनी नहीं कह सकते. There's a lot of stress, lot of emphasis which requires, and I think this is very close to what Priyanka Vora had discussed in her session on speaking theory. She emphasized कि हमें pronunciation, intonation, stress कौन से word पे देना है to be able to convey our message meaningfully to the audience. Then presentation of your content, presentation of your expression, how you speak, what you speak, how you look when you speak is all important. Then interaction. If your speaking is able to engage the audience in an interactive way, the audience would be impressed and you would be considered a good speaker. Then enthusiasm. Enthusiasm may not be very apparent. A person may not be a very excited speaker, but very enthusiastic in a very subtle, very decent way. One can be a very enthusiastic speaker. And a constant eye contact with the audience is a must, especially in a face-to-face mode. And emphasis, as I've already discussed, emphasis on some specific words which are important, because not everything that I speak in a sentence can be equally important. Only few words of my sentence should be important. So only then the audience will get what I want to speak. So these are the things we need to tell our students in a very subtle way, because अगर हम उन्हें ऐसे बताएंगे जैसे हम आपसे यहाँ पे share कर रहे हैं, it might not impact them. So it's important that you demonstrate speaking activities in your classroom, keeping in mind all these parameters. Then the second image on the lower right corner that you can see are the 7 C's of communication. Starting from the first top one, correct. I'll move clockwise. Correct is important. It's important that one is able to complete the communication. Whatever you want to say, even if it's a 2-liner statement that you want to say, make sure that the speaker is able to complete it and doesn't leave it midway. Otherwise, the audience will be confused and the listener would not understand what you intended to actually say. Then one has to be very concrete. Talking fantasy is very easy, but it is not impactful at all. So whatever the speaker is speaking should be very concrete, should be substantial, if possible should be supported by evidences and examples. Then one needs to be very concise. We cannot speak forever and nobody can listen to us forever. We all have a limited time, and to make most of that time, it's important for us to be very concise in our thoughts. That will happen only when we are prepared well enough before delivering our final speech. So it's important that we gather our thoughts and we keep it very precise and accurate. Coherence in the thoughts. is important, because if you're talking about a particular topic, you while speaking, you just cannot pop out of that topic and go somewhere else. You yourself will be confused as a speaker, as well as the listeners will not be able to understand what you exactly intended. So it's important to be very coherent, to speak connect in a way that all your thoughts are connected, and the audience should be able to understand, should be able to connect all the dots which you are throwing to them in the form of your verbal expressions. Then one needs to be very courteous. We need to be very mindful of the body courtesy, body language wise. Also, we need to be very polite in our words, and so that these are all important for while we are polishing our students as good speakers. This will not come all at once. Probably we can just take one C at a time and keep polishing it week by week with our students. So one day after, let's say 7 weeks, 8 weeks, 10 weeks of practice, our students we will have a good set of polished students. And the last one is that one needs to be very clear in what one tries to say. Initially, the students might fumble, they may make mistakes, but it's important that gradually they develop that clarity. So a clarity of thought must be explicitly expressed in the way one speaks. That's how we call a good speaking skill. Sarika, next slide, please. Yeah, I will not delve much on this because we have already touched upon this. Speaking skill, for speaking skills, we require some sort of vocabulary which needs to be very specific. If you can see the green strike on the left upper corner, that's specific. We need to have appropriate vocabulary for the content we are trying to deliver. Then the pink one, the fluency, we need to keep talking as in we need to keep practicing speaking. We need to be able to connect ideas, a lot of pauses, hesitations, emphasis, and sometimes even repetition is required. But it's also important that we don't keep repeating the same thing again and again in our speech. So let's be mindful of how much to repeat and what to repeat and when. Then going to the blue side, pronunciation, the sounds of English language are very important because we are talking about this. We are basically concerned about the speakers of English as a second language. Our students are using English as a second language. So it's important that they pronounce it well. शुरू में नहीं होगा, not all the students can say things correctly, but gradually they will. Then intonation, stress, rhythm. By intonation, further deep if we go down, we can see that there is a rising tone and then there is a falling tone. जैसे मैं भी अभी आपसे बात कर रही हूँ, आपको मेरी आवाज में कुछ उतार चढ़ाव महसूस हो रहा होगा. You are able to understand what Amita wants to emphasize, what exactly she wants to convey to us. Right? And then a sentence stress and word stress in the entire speech. Some sentences are very important to be stressed, and in some sentences not the entire sentence is important, only a few words are like the key words. So let's only emphasize that. Then rhythm, and oral punctuation is what is referred to here. We need to stop where we need to stop. We need to pause where there should have been a comma. मतलब एक ओरल पंक्चुएशन भी हमें बहुत अपैरेंट होती है, हमें पता होता है. हम लगातार बिना रुके, बिना सांस लिए, बिना उतार चढ़ाव के हम बोलते नहीं जा सकते. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, इफ आई वॉन्ट टू आस्क यू अ क्वेश्चन, सपोज आई वॉन्ट टू आस्क यू हाउ आर यू फीलिंग टुडे, so I will frame my voice in such a way that it reaches you as a question. If I say, how are you feeling today? Does that reach you as a question? No, it doesn't. It probably reaches you just as a simple sentence. So you will not understand that I'm asking you something, and hence you will not be able to respond. So if I'm asking a question, my tone must be appropriate to asking a question. I should be punctuating the sentence with an oral question mark, जो दिखता तो नहीं है लेकिन महसूस हो जाता है listener को. So these are important things. And then speed. I can't be too fast so that people don't catch me. I can't be too slow that people sleep. I don't want my listeners to go passive. So that part is important. And grammar, initially students and the speakers do make a lot of mistakes, and that's very natural, बिकॉज इंग्लिश लैंग्वेज कोई भाषा ऐसी नहीं है कि हम सीख सकें, हम इस भाषा को अक्वायर करते हैं, ग्रेजुअली वी डेवलप एंड वी एनहांस द लैंग्वेज. थैंक यू. सारिका, नेक्स्ट स्लाइड.
Amita, may I interrupt you here?
या, श्योर.
There's a slide number 11. It's about an activity, just in case you want to discuss that. Just a reminder.
Slide number 11. Sarika, can you take us back there? Sarika, we need to go back. Yeah, further back. This is slide number 14. I think Priyanka refers to slide number 11. Further back. Further down. Oh yes, thank you so much, Priyanka. I missed this activity. Thank you so much. Yeah. So this is another activity I wanted to demonstrate. I'm glad for having Priyanka as my co-RP. Otherwise, I would have missed this interesting activity. So these are a few headlines. If you can see, there's one in red, blue, and green. These are 3 different headlines. Now I want you to just read. Let's say we're talking about the first headline, heating up. प्लीज गेस द कॉन्टेक्स्ट. आपको क्या लगता है कि ये हेडलाइन किसकी हो सकती है? व्हाट कुड बी द न्यूज अबाउट? यू कैन अनम्यूट और यू कैन यूज द चैट बॉक्स.
Could be an argumentative thing between the 2 political parties.
Okay, Avni ma'am and Ashish sir are saying similar things. They probably say that it's probably an argument. It's a situation of an argument. Yes, आदर्श जी, आपकी आवाज नहीं आई.
Yes, presidential heating up now.
सर, आवाज नहीं आ रही. एंड इंडिया पाकिस्तान क्रिकेट मैच. ओके, आदर्श जी एक बार दोबारा बोलें.
Ma'am, US presidential election result heating up.
Okay. Election. Somebody said environment, global warming. Great. So these are a few ways. ये जो demonstration इस activity का है, इसका intention इतना ही है that if we can throw these headlines to our students and we elicit a lot of responses from them. Okay. So going on to the next, because we have little lesser time and I've already got the signal from Sarika to wind up by 12:30. So I'm just rushing now. The blue headline, preparing to beat the monster. What could this be about? क्या news होगी जिसकी ये headline थी?
Beating the monster of COVID-19.
Okay, beat pollution, beating the monster of COVID-19. Okay.
Yes,
What else?
once in IPL final, second qualified trying to think beat the monster as like MI Mumbai Indians. I think also.
Okay. Thank you, Ashish ji. Putting arguments strongly is also coming up on the chat box. Maybe a game, being prepared for something innovative. So as Chauhan sir rightly said, there can be so many aspects to define this particular context. Great. It can be an examination monster. Somebody said COVID, and we can again elicit a lot of responses on this from students. The third one, music to the ears. ये headline हो तो news क्या होगी? Something melodious. Okay. But melodious what? Let's be very specific. What melodious could it be? It could be a new song, a singing show.
May I?
Ji, please.
It can be a concert of any musician.
It can be a concert of any? Musician, okay. It can be a musical rendition, okay. Some good news, very nice. Something classic and romantic. Okay, so great answers and great inputs. Any pleasing activity? Yes, such as praise. Even a praise can be music to ears. Very rightly pointed out, Chauhan sir. Thanks. So, expected news. Okay. So ये कुछ इस तरह की एक्टिविटीज हम और इस तरह की हेडलाइन सोच सकते हैं, हमें मिल सकती हैं. ये तो खुद भी बनाई जा सकती हैं. एंड डू यू थिंक इट विल बी अ गुड स्पीकिंग एक्टिविटी फॉर आवर स्टूडेंट्स? Do you find this activity worth taking to your classes? Yeah? Okay, okay. I'm glad to hear that. I feel inspired. Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you. Sarika, can we move on to the next slide? Even Khalik sir appreciated calling this an amazing activity. Thank you, Khalik sir. Yeah, we've discussed this. 13. Sarika, next slide. This is also done. Yeah, next one. Thank you, Deepak sir. Okay, so this is a slide just I wanted to project it. I think a lot has been discussed already by Khalik sir's PPT and by Shweta, who took a initial session with you on speaking practical. These are a few activities. In case you have any questions about any of these, we can talk about it or we can move on to the next slide. Just take 30 seconds to view it and absorb it. यहाँ पर acting out से मतलब role play है, instant comment we can invite from children, they can give us prepared talks, they can make a frame questionnaires and they can ask, we can tell them to ask, you conduct interviews, there can be communication games, there can be simulations, formal debates, declamations, play scripts, then discussions, dialogues. So these are a few activities. The PPT will be shared with you, not to worry. So you don't have to take a note of any of these. Just do involve a lot of them in your speaking. And here I would like to emphasize the message which was given by Priyanka Vora. She suggested all of us to plan to conduct at least one activity per week for speaking. So we call it the speaking classwork. So let's make sure that not in the online mode. I understand it's difficult, but after the school resumes and after things are normal, let's stick to the routine of giving one speaking classwork per week. So I think that will help. Yeah, Sarika, we can move on to the next slide. Yeah, these are a few more activities. Yeah. What Avni ma'am's question is, I couldn't get the question. Avni ma'am, I'll just come back to your question once we are through with the PPT. So just give me a few more minutes. So here conversations, as you can see, is the biggest in font. It's very important. This slide automatically, it's quite self-explanatory when it says that conversations are the core component of any speaking, enhancement of the speaking skills in the classroom. Role plays, interviews, discussions, watch and speak, picture comments and discussions describing pictures is again one thing that Priyanka had already done on her slides, where she gave us two pictures and we had to spot the differences, where she showed us two pictures of that park. One was the messy one and the clean one, and she elicited a lot of responses from you. So this is what I mean when I say describing pictures, and some problem solving prompts as well, because we ultimately are preparing our children for the ASL, which happens in senior grades for them. So it's important that they are able to get the situation. We give them a pointer wherein they have to think critically and come up with a solution to the problem that we are offering them. This can be done in pairs or in groups. Yeah, next slide. Avni ma'am, I'll come to your point. I remember that. I'll come back to it. Yeah, Sarika, next slide, please. Yeah, so these are the two. No, slide number 16. 16, Sarika. The next one. Yeah, thank you. So these are a few tips on these two slides. Sarika, the previous slide, please. Yeah, thank you. So these are a few tips that I found really worth sharing. I'll just quickly read them out for you. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Nobody is judging. ये मैं अपने टीचर्स को सारी वर्कशॉप्स में यही सजेस्ट करती हूँ that please engage in speaking with children. Please expose children to speaking and listening activities. We as teachers hesitate a lot to speak in English in our classrooms because we feel that the student probably will judge us. हम अगर गलत बोलेंगे तो somebody will pop up and say कि मैम को तो ये भी नहीं आता या सर ने तो ठीक नहीं बोला. But trust me, as per experience, I have lived this, that no student will ever judge you. In fact, students always look up to the teachers if teachers are speaking in English. they feel very inspired, to do that. बिकॉज अगर हम खुद कभी इंग्लिश में बात नहीं करेंगे उनसे, या वो हम इंग्लिश में औरों से बात करते नहीं सुनेंगे, देन इफ वी टेल आवर स्टूडेंट्स की बेटा इंग्लिश में बात किया करो, प्रैक्टिस स्पीकिंग द लैंग्वेज, व्हाट इफ सम स्टूडेंट कम्स अप एंड टेल्स अस, मैम आपको तो कभी सुना नहीं बोलते हुए, आप हमेशा हमें ही बोलते हो. सो लेट्स नॉट say something that we don't practice. So let's demonstrate a lot of speaking and providing them a lot of listening inputs. So please speak, nobody is judging you, everybody is on a journey, everybody is learning, just the pace is different. Second is surround yourself in English. Class में English speaking environment create करिए, so that students are not only able to learn actively but they are also able to experience the language, the English language passively. थर्ड इज प्रैक्टिस एवरी डे. डेडिकेटेड टाइम अपने टाइम टेबल्स में, अपने पीरियड्स में, अपने लेसन प्लान्स में एलोकेट कीजिए जहाँ पे यू प्रैक्टिस स्पीकिंग एवरी डे. देन दिस इज फॉर यू एज वेल एज फॉर स्टूडेंट्स. लेट्स कीप अ नोटबुक फॉर द न्यू वर्ड्स दैट वी लर्न. और हर इंसान के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में नए वर्ड्स अलग अलग हो सकते हैं, एंड द न्यू वर्ड्स दैट वी आर पिकिंग अप ग्रेजुअली इन आवर एवरीडे कॉन्टेक्स्ट, लेट्स ट्राई टू यूज देम ऑल्सो, बिकॉज इफ वी पिक अप अ वर्ड, इफ वी लर्न समथिंग न्यू and we don't use it, we forget it. That word is not ours then. So let's adopt a word and let's use it for good 3-4 weeks so that it becomes a part of us. Then you will find, I'm on point number 5. You will find words easier to remember if you try to remember an example sentence, because a word in isolation slips off easily. So it's important to lock the word in your mind in the form of a sentence or in the form of a context. Do that with the children as well. Then you must plan to take a test, not a formal test, but keep testing yourself as to how much you know and how much you don't know, because it's important to realize how much we do not know, to as the first step to learning something. Because अगर हम ये लगता है कि हमें सब कुछ आता है, then we don't even try to make that effort to learn. Then point number 7 is very important and very specific to our context, that we must make speaking activities very theme based and contextualized. What do I mean by theme based? For example, if you give them a theme of hobbies or technology and upon a lot of speaking speaking inputs in the classroom or speaking prompters उसके around ही इर्द गिर्द ही आप डिवाइस करें, then textbook based भी आप बहुत सारी speaking activities from the lessons, from the poems that the students are dealing. We also are eventually preparing our students to handle job interviews. There will be students who probably will शायद 10वीं क्लास उनके लिए लास्ट क्लास हो उनके स्कूल में, कुछ बच्चे 12वीं तक पढ़ेंगे, कुछ उसके और आगे जाएंगे. सो वी डोंट नो कि बच्चों की एजुकेशन की जर्नी कहाँ तक है. तो जहाँ तक भी हमारे पास हमारे बच्चे हैं, ईश्वर करे वो बहुत आगे तक पढ़ें, लेकिन इट्स इम्पॉर्टेंट दैट वी प्रिपेयर देम सफिशिएंटली फॉर फेसिंग द वर्ल्ड बियॉन्ड स्कूल. So let's give them simulated situations for in which they will have to face interviews for seeking a job later, or how to make inquiries. Let's teach them how should they make inquiries in the correct way, what is the language to be used, how must they express themselves. So this is what precisely English learning इसी तरह से फ्रूटफुल हो सकती है स्कूल्स में. हमारे बच्चों को यही चाहिए हमसे in the context of English language speaking. Then a long-term goal is important so that we work in steps to achieve that. Then let's be the person to start the conversation in English. This I am requesting you as a friend, as a teacher, कि आप अपने जहाँ पे भी आप हैं, whether in class, whether in the English classroom, whether outside the English language classroom, in the school, outside the school, wherever possible, start the conversations in English. And अगर conversations आप initiate करेंगे या आप बच्चों को encourage करेंगे initiate करने के लिए, then we will not be waiting for others to give us an opportunity to speak. We ourselves can ask a lot of probing questions, like if you say how was your day yesterday, and somebody responds, no, I had a bad day, then you can just go on and say, oh really, what happened? So speak. I mean, I'm just encouraging you to expand the conversation, to continue the conversations with people. Then for fluency, image training is one of the very small strategies that really helps. कि हम कभी कभी पहले से ही simulate करके, suppose if you want to go to a restaurant एंड यू वांट टू, यहाँ पे यू से मेरा मतलब है हम जब बच्चों से बात करेंगे कि व्हेन वी आर गोइंग टू अ रेस्टोरेंट वी मस्ट प्रिपेयर आवरसेल्व्स एंड वी मस्ट सिमुलेट द सिचुएशन इन आवर हेड्स कि वहाँ पे वेटर होगा, हमें उससे क्या बात करनी है, व्हेन वी विल सी द मेन्यू कार्ड ऑन आवर हैंड, हाउ विल बी ऑर्डर, व्हाट एग्जैक्टली डू वी नीड टू से, यू नो. सो ऑल दैट प्रैक्टिस एंड इमेज ट्रेनिंग हम उसको पहले से ही अपने दिमाग में फैंटेसाइज करें और उस पर तैयारी कर लें. नेक्स्ट स्लाइड सारिका. सो 11 न्यूज़पेपर्स इज अ गुड प्लेस क्योंकि न्यूज़पेपर्स एक ऐसा रिसोर्स है विच इज एक्सेसिबल टू आवर स्टूडेंट्स मोस्ट ऑफन. देन पहले हम कुछ भी पढ़ें तो हम उसे जनरल मीनिंग के लिए पढ़ें. दीज some of these tips you might not find very appropriate to speaking, but English language acquisition on the whole is important. Speaking कोई isolated skill नहीं है, so it's important कि हम उसे पूरे context में holistically समझें. तो अगर हम कुछ पढ़ते हैं, कुछ सुनते हैं और हमें पहले उसका मतलब समझ नहीं आता, let's not worry about understanding every bit. You know, let's try to build our understanding on the words around it. That's what point number 13 says. आप मीनिंग उसके कॉन्टेक्स्ट से गेस करिए, चाहे कोई बोल रहा है तभी भी और चाहे कोई आप चीज पढ़ रहे हैं तभी. Point number 14 is use English wherever you can. It is actually as simple as that. So let's make English language speaking a part of our lives. Let's make English language speaking a part of our students' lives. Then let's not translate into English from our own language. This is one very big one thing that we shouldn't be doing. Usually हम हिंदी में सोचते हैं या अपनी मदर टंग में सोचते हैं and we translate it, and that is where we fumble. That is where we go off track. So it's important that we gradually train our minds, train ourselves, train our students to think in English and then express. इंग्लिश में सोचेंगे तो कम गलतियां होंगी बोलने पर. अगर हिंदी में सोचेंगे और वो ट्रांसलेशन मोड में बात करेंगे then there'll be a lot of mistakes happening. So talk to yourself also in the target language. The target language here is English. Think in English. वो कहते हैं ना, I speak English, I eat English, I think English, I walk English, I talk English. Actually, मतलब let's try to make that happen. Then you can't
Amita,
learn
may I
English.
just add a brief point here?
Yeah, please.
For your point 11, when you talked about newspapers as a resource for practicing speaking skills, I'm just sharing it with all present here that till some time back, our schools were distributing newspapers to students. So they get a student edition of it, which is very student friendly and with ample pictures and very interesting activities. So just wanted to share it that we can use this as a wonderful resource. Thank you.
थैंक्स प्रियंका फॉर पॉइंटिंग दैट आउट. एंड जैसे प्रियंका ने बोला कि कुछ साल पहले तक ऐसा होता था ना, यू वुड बी वंडरिंग कि अब तो नहीं होता, अब कहाँ से लें. तो अ लॉट ऑफ इट इज अवेलेबल इन द स्कूल लाइब्रेरी. द न्यूज़पेपर इन एजुकेशन प्रोजेक्ट के तहत ये न्यूज़पेपर स्कूल में आते थे. सो यू कैन डेफिनेटली गो बैक टू योर स्कूल लाइब्रेरीज एंड आई एम श्योर यू विल फाइंड दोज न्यूज़पेपर्स एज अ रियली गुड रिसोर्स एज शी राइटली सेड. थैंक्स प्रियंका. पॉइंट नंबर 16 इज यू रियली कांट लर्न इंग्लिश फ्रॉम अ बुक. लोग इंग्लिश स्पीकिंग कोर्सेज ज्वाइन करते हैं, बहुत कुछ करते हैं, बट डू यू थिंक उससे इंग्लिश उतनी इफेक्टिवली हम सीख सकते हैं, या हम इंग्लिश को अपनी ज़िंदगी का हिस्सा बना के उससे इंग्लिश ज़्यादा बेहतर एक्वायर कर पाएंगे? आई थिंक द लैटर. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, इफ यू वॉन्ट टू ड्राइव अ कार, आई गिव यू अ ट्यूटोरियल, आई शो यू वीडियोज ऑन ड्राइविंग. लर्निंग टू ड्राइव अ कार will not help. Only when you sit in the car and you start driving it one day, you make faults, you make mistakes, but gradually you learn. So that's how a language can be acquired. So the most natural way to learn English is through talking. यहाँ पे grammar नहीं है, यहाँ पे replace the word grammar by speaking. We can also keep a journal or a diary so that we keep a track of what are the new sentences and words we are learning, and then we put them into practice more often. Then having English radio in your house helps. These days all homes, our students do have English speaking channels, whether they are the news channels or discoveries or any English channels. Let's encourage our students कि वो background में, अगर आपके पास 1 घंटे का समय है आपके घर पे, and if you have the freedom to do that, let that English be in the environment. ये मैं उस philosophy से relate कर रही हूँ कि जब एक छोटा बच्चा घर में पैदा होता है तो घर में यूजुअली वो भजन और उस तरह के माहौल क्रिएट करा जाता है, ताकि अगर बच्चा सो भी रहा है तो बहुत हल्का सा कोई भजन या कोई कोई रिलीजियस हिम बज रहा है पीछे, ताकि वो बच्चे के कानों में अगर पैसिवली भी जा रहा है, इट इज ट्रेनिंग अ चाइल्ड्स माइंड टू टू थिंक दैट वे। तो उसके वो थॉट्स को अंदर से ट्रेन कर रहा है। सो दैट्स द वे इंग्लिश कैन हेल्प। इफ इंग्लिश इज इवन पैसिवली प्लेड अराउंड इन द हाउस, then dictation we can take this can be a very friendly activity, can be done in families, can be, you can do it in the class, that you say something and you want students to register it and reproduce the the words back to you. Then point number 21, nobody likes to hear their own voice, but be brave and try it. This is one very interesting thing I wanted to emphasize, that let's record our voices. हम अपने रोजमर्रा में अपने आप को रिकॉर्ड करके देखें कि हम कितनी इंग्लिश बोलते हैं और कितनी हमें बोलनी चाहिए, या कितनी हम सही बोलते हैं और हमें कहाँ सीखने की जरूरत है। कोई और हमें कहेगा तो वी विल फील बैड कि खुद को तो आती नहीं है, हमें बोल रहे हैं। मतलब वी एज ह्यूमंस वी डू फील बैड, वी डू फील ऑफेंडेड व्हेन पीपल पॉइंट अस आउट। So let's examine ourselves by recording our own voice, so that हमें पता चलेगा pronunciation, intonation कहाँ पे we need to work on, and also it will help you identify your problem areas as well as your strength areas. आपकी कौन सी skill English speaking में भी आपका कौन सा part बहुत अच्छा है, you would feel motivated by that. And also you can encourage your students कि अगर वो ठीक समझें और अगर ये possible हो तो the students can record the lessons of their teachers also, because क्लास में बच्चों ने जितना एक 40-45 मिनट की क्लास में जितना सुना, it's difficult for a child to absorb all the content in one go. So if the lesson gets recorded, it becomes a lot easier for the child to listen to it again and feel confident. वो प्रेशर नहीं होता बच्चे के ऊपर कि जो अभी मैम या सर बोल रहे हैं वो मुझे अभी के अभी ही अब्सॉर्ब करना है, क्योंकि हर बच्चे की पेस अभी बहुत स्लो है. आवर स्टूडेंट्स आर जस्ट फर्स्ट जनरेशन लैंग्वेज लर्नर्स, सो लेट्स बी माइंडफुल ऑफ देयर कन्वीनियंस दिस वे एज वेल. And Sarika, next slide. I think that's the thank you slide. Yeah, so I really thank you for being a part, for playing your crucial part in my journey, because over these workshops, even I as a person, I'm learning so much from you, and the kind of responses you share and your participation enables a lot of learning for me. So thank you so much, everybody. Now coming back to what Avni ma'am had asked. Avni ma'am, what was your question, if you could just pronounce it?
Yeah, I just asked, there was something that it was written bus groups. I just wanted to know about that.
Yeah, thank you for pointing that out. In one of the slides, it mentioned that buzz groups में जैसे जो हम discussion के लिए आपको strategy suggest कर रहे थे, उसमें एक strategy थी buzz groups. My understanding of that is that let children talk about something happening, something current in their scenario. For example, जैसे अभी कोविड का ये टाइम चल रहा है, सो we understand there is a lot the lot that we are listening to about COVID on TV, in news, in newspapers, from friends, from neighbors, from everywhere. COVID हो रहा है. But it's important that क्योंकि ये buzzword है आज का, क्योंकि ये current scenario है आज का, let students engage in some speaking activities related to this concept. So buzz means something which is making headlines, something which is making rounds in the environment, something which is current, जो contextually अभी relevant है, उससे उससे आप उसके around आप कुछ speaking activities design करवा सकते हैं. So thank you so much. That's all from my side for today, and I hope the session was enriching for you. And I thank Priyanka for all the help, and I really take a very sincere opportunity to thank Sarika for all the technical support she offers. And thank you, Khalik sir, for being there, and thank you everybody for making this session so enriching for me. Thank you. Over to Sarika.
Thank you, everyone. We will continue our session at 12:45 after 3 minutes, so that we can wind up till 1:30.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.